Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube page. Continuing my Week 14 preview, analysis, and predictions for this week's games. We'll consolidate all of our picks into one video at the end. If you're just looking for picks, keep an eye out for that. We'll preview now the game between the Ravens and the Redskins. It'll be a 1 p.m. start over on CBS. These two teams coming off two very different games in Week 13. The Ravens coming off of a surprising loss to the Steelers. I say surprising because the Steelers were starting their third-string quarterback, Charlie Batch, who I think had a much better game than anyone was expecting against the Ravens. The Redskins coming at 6-6 by way of their very highly publicized Monday night win against the Giants at home. They run their record to 500 and now vault themselves right back into the playoff discussion in the NFC East. And they have their fans excited. They have the capital city excited. And we don't blame them. An exciting team to watch, certainly led by their all-world rookie quarterback, Robert Griffin III. For the Ravens coming into this game, they sit at 9-3 now overall. Solidly on top of the NFC North, AFC North. We don't see any problem with them winning that division and really being solid in their footing there. Some things that you take from last week's game: Joe Flacco, 16-34, 188 yards. Flacco, just when you think he's turning the corner and is becoming a consistent quarterback, he has a game like he had last week. I like to call that the bad Joe Flacco. Inopportune turnovers at inopportune times. And look, for them to, heading down the stretch, for them to develop the consistency they need heading into the playoffs, to me, it starts and it ends with the consistency of Joe Flacco. And we'll see how he can respond heading down the stretch here. The Ravens did have a 15-game home winning streak snapped last week against the Steelers. If you look back, though, the history of the Ravens, while under Jim Harbaugh, when they're coming off of an emotional loss or a game they shouldn't have lost, they usually come back with a pretty good effort the next week. And we actually expect them to do that here because, look, they know what's at stake. They sit at 9-3, tied with the Broncos and the Patriots in the battle for that 2 seed in the AFC. The Texans probably have the 1 locked up. Broncos, Ravens, Patriots at 9-3. The Ravens actually have an inside track. If they can take care of business this week versus the Redskins and run to 10-3, they've already beaten the Patriots and they play the Broncos next week. So they have a very unique opportunity to have beaten potentially 2 teams they'll be tied with as we head down the stretch and we get into all those tiebreakers come playoff time. So this is a veteran team. We don't think they'll look ahead to the Broncos, but they know what's at stake coming down the stretch here and that they still have everything they want to achieve right within their grasp, and it's very attainable. The Redskins, 6-6. Second place, 1 game behind the Giants in the NFC East. The Redskins have won 3 games in a row to get themselves right back in the discussion. As always, led by their rookie quarterback, Robert Griffin III. We were impressed with the Redskins' victory on Monday night because any other game I've watched the Redskins this year, when I come away from the game, I'm like, man, that Robert Griffin played great. He's great. And he played an awesome game. On Monday night, I thought it was a good sign for the Redskins because they won when Robert Griffin III didn't play out of his mind. Griffin played well. He managed the game well. I think there's often a bad connotation with game manager. Robert Griffin's not a game manager, but when he needed to manage the game, when he wasn't having his best passing game of the season, he did so. He didn't make the big mistake, okay? And he led his team down the field in crucial spots. We think that the Ravens will come out and actually take away Alfred Morris and make Robert Griffin beat them. It may seem like a risky strategy, but people tend to forget about Alfred Morris and the fact that he's already over 1,000 yards. He's also a rookie. Over 1,000 yards, and the offense, he's a huge part of that offense and taking the pressure off Robert Griffin III and the passing game. We think it'll come down to that. Can Robert Griffin III, via the pass, sort of, for lack of a better term, carve up the Ravens and lead them to victory? We don't think it'll be as much as Robert Griffin having a bad game as the Ravens, with a more talented roster and a better team, just overwhelming the Redskins and coming off of a game where, hey, look, they didn't play their best game. We think they come out very spirited in this game on the road. Everyone's talking about the Redskins. No one's talking about the Ravens. The Ravens are that kind of team. They sort of feed off that kind of momentum. So we like the Ravens plus 2.5 on the road against the surging Redskins. We don't think the Redskins are dead by any means. We think the Redskins finish 9-7 and actually end up tied with the Giants before all the tiebreaker scenarios are figured out. But for this week, we like the Ravens coming off of a loss, an emotional loss to the Steelers. So we'll take the Ravens plus 2.5 at the Redskins here in this Week 14 game. And be sure to check out our other previews, analysis, and predictions for Week 14 in the NFL.